All right, so today we're going to take a deep dive into the world of digital assets.
Okay.
But not just any asset. We're talking about a domain name,
Wow.
d4pp.com.
Okay.
And get this, the price tag is $249,213.
Whoa.
I mean, honestly, when I first saw that number, my jaw kind of hit the floor.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But the more I dug into the marketing around it, the more I started to see how they're positioning this as something completely different.
Interesting.
So what are your initial thoughts on this?
What's really interesting here is that they're not just selling it as like your typical website address,
Right.
It's this whole pitch of a luxury asset,
Mm-hmm.
like a status symbol almost
Yeah.
for the blockchain and Web3
Mm-hmm.
world.
Right.
And it seems like they're aiming it at these big players, the innovators.
Yeah, absolutely. The target audience is even described as like trailblazers, leaders, those shaping the future of decentralized tech. And they use all this language like exclusive, prestige, high value. So they're clearly painting a picture of a very specific buyer.
Definitely.
But does owning a domain name really make you a leader in Web3?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
I mean, what do you think?
It's a bold claim for sure.
Yeah.
I think they're really banking on the idea of digital scarcity,
Okay. Yeah.
Just like a rare piece of art or a limited edition watch.
Right.
There's only one d4pp.com.
Yeah.
It's short, it's memorable, and it's tied to this cutting edge technology.
And they're definitely playing up that angle because they actually just increased the price by 5%, suggesting that it's this hot commodity in high demand.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So is it all just hype, though? Or is there real value here, beyond just the marketing?
Well, that's what we're here to figure out.
Exactly.
They argue that d4pp.com is more than just a website address.
Mm.
They're pitching it as this strategic asset,
Mm-hmm.
like a brand builder
Okay.
in a sector that's exploding right now.
So are they saying it's like prime real estate, but in the digital world?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I can kind of see that.
But we have to remember, we're talking about the blockchain industry here. And while there are comparisons to traditional investments like art or real estate, a domain name's value in this space hinges on something else entirely.
That actually brings up a question. I know you're familiar with NFTs,
I am.
but how's a domain name like d4pp.com different?
That's a great question.
Is it kind of like owning a unique piece of digital real estate that you can build on?
To understand that, we need to take a quick look at domain names in general. They're tied to the domain name system,
Right.
or DNS, which is basically like the phone book of the internet.
Okay.
When you type in a website address, the DNS translates that into a numerical IP address that computers understand.
So it's like the address on an envelope,
Yeah.
telling the mail carrier where to deliver it.
Exactly.
Gotcha. But what makes blockchain domains special then?
Well, traditional domains are managed by these centralized authorities, which can be vulnerable to hacking or censorship.
Right.
Blockchain domains, on the other hand, are registered on a decentralized ledger,
Oh.
making them theoretically more secure
Yeah.
and resistant to tampering.
So it's like having a digital asset that's both unique and tamper-proof.
Precisely.
That adds a whole new layer to the conversation, doesn't it?
It really does.
And for businesses operating in the Web3 space, where decentralization and security are so important, this could be a huge selling point.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're starting to see how owning a domain like d4pt.com could potentially benefit a Web3 business. But I'm still a little skeptical about that hefty price tag.
Yeah.
Are there any examples of premium domains in emerging tech sectors actually making a difference?
There are some interesting cases for sure. For example, remember when the .io domain extension, originally assigned to the British Indian Ocean Territory,
Right.
became popular with tech startups?
Yeah, .io kind of became shorthand for input-output, which was perfect for tech companies focused on data and functionality.
Right.
And some of those .io domains have become incredibly valuable, like even fetching 6- or 7-figure sums.
I've heard of that.
So there is precedent for a short, catchy domain name, especially in a burgeoning tech sector, becoming a sought-after asset.
Definitely.
Now that's what I'm talking about, concrete examples, not just marketing fluff.
Right.
But before we get too carried away, it's important to remember that the blockchain space is still evolving, right?
Well,
I mean, it's still early days.
You're right.
Yeah.
While the potential is huge, the market is still relatively young and prone to volatility.
Right.
And just like with any investment, there are risks involved.
So we need to look at this with a balanced perspective. D4PP.com might be a gamble on the future of Web3,
Yeah.
but it's a gamble nonetheless.
For sure. And that's where it gets really interesting. Because unlike investing in, say, a piece of physical real estate, the value of D4PP.com isn't tied to like a tangible asset. It's tied to a concept, a vision of the future of the internet.
So it's almost like buying a piece of that future, betting on the continued growth and adoption of blockchain technology. But then, couldn't you say the same thing about any domain name?
That's a good point.
I mean, even Amazon.com relies on the internet continuing to exist.
You're right. But I think the difference here lies in the specific audience D4PP.com is targeting.
Okay.
Remember, we're talking about Web3, which is all about decentralization, user ownership, and a shift away from the traditional power structures of the internet.
So Web3, in a nutshell, is the idea of a more decentralized internet, where users have more control over their data and online experiences.
Exactly.
So D4PP.com is being marketed to folks building dApps. That's decentralized applications for those new to the term, especially in the DeFi space.
Which stands for decentralized finance.
Precisely. And for these projects, having a short, memorable domain name that aligns with the principles of Web3 can be a powerful branding tool.
It's like a signal to their community that they're serious players in this space.
Okay, so it's not just about the technology itself, it's about the community, the ethos, the whole vibe of Web3.
Exactly.
And owning a premium domain name like D4PP.com could be a way to tap into that.
Yeah, it's about creating a sense of belonging, of being part of something bigger. Think about those early adopters of Bitcoin who proudly displayed their Bitcoin addresses on their social media profiles.
Right.
It's like a badge of honor, a way to show their commitment to this new technology.
That's a great point. It reminds me of something you mentioned earlier about digital scarcity, just like those limited edition collectibles. Is there a sense that owning D4PP.com makes a statement in the Web3 community?
Absolutely. It's a way to stand out from the crowd, to establish credibility, and to signal your commitment to the principles of decentralization.
Interesting.
In a way, it's like buying a front row seat to the Web3 revolution.
Okay, I'm starting to get the appeal. But let's play devil's advocate for a moment. Couldn't someone just create a similar domain name, like d4pt.io or d4pp.f, and undercut the value of d4pp.com?
That's certainly a possibility.
Yeah.
But remember, the .com extension still holds a lot of weight, especially in the mainstream consciousness.
Right.
It's the OG domain extension, the one that everyone recognizes and trusts.
So even in the decentralized world of Web3, the old rules of branding and recognition still apply to some extent?
To some extent, yes.
Okay.
And that's why a premium.com domain like d4pp.com can command such a high price. It's a combination of scarcity, memorability, and a perceived association with established values.
It's almost like those stories you hear about people who bought Bitcoin for pennies back in the day. Like, imagine explaining to someone in 2010 that a pizza could cost 10,000 Bitcoins.
Yeah.
Crazy. Do you think we'll look back on these domain prices the same way?
It's certainly possible. The early days of any new technology are always a bit of a Wild West, and those who are willing to take risks and bet on the future can sometimes reap huge rewards.
Okay, so we've established that owning a premium domain like d4pp.com could have some strategic advantages for a Web3 business, especially in terms of branding and community building. But let's talk about the financial side of things. Is this really a sound investment?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And honestly, there's no easy answer. Like any investment, there are risks involved.
The blockchain market's still so young and volatile. I mean, what if a new technology comes along and makes blockchain domains completely obsolete?
That's always a possibility.
Yeah.
You know, no one can predict the future with absolute certainty.
Right.
And that's why diversification is always key with any investment strategy.
I put all your eggs in one basket, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Let's say, just for fun, that Web3 really does take off the way some people are predicting. d4pp.com could become, like, incredibly valuable, right?
Yeah, potentially. Think about those early investors who bought domain names like google.com or amazon.com before anyone really understood the power of the internet.
Oh, yeah.
They took a chance, and it paid off big time.
That's what makes this so intriguing. We're watching history unfold in real time.
Yeah.
And it's anyone's guess how it will all play out.
Absolutely.
So to bring it back to our listener, what are some key takeaways from all of this?
Well, first, d4pp.com is being marketed as much more than just a website address, like we were saying. It's a statement, a status symbol, a bet on the future of Web3.
Yeah, and while there are some interesting arguments for its potential value, like the scarcity, the branding power, the connection to a specific community, it's crucial to approach it with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Do your research, understand the risks,
Hmm.
and consider how this investment fits into your overall strategy.
Great advice. So as we wrap up our deep dive into this curious case of D4PP.com, we'll leave you with this final thought. If you had the opportunity to invest in a piece of this digital future, what would you choose? Would it be a domain name, a piece of virtual real estate, an NFT, or something else entirely? The choice is yours.
But remember, the most important investment you can make is in your own knowledge and understanding of this rapidly evolving world.
Couldn't agree more. Keep exploring, keep learning, and stay curious. Until next time.